Hello chess friends, and welcome to your Out of Chess channel, and welcome back to our little computer chess world. Welcome to a spectacular game from the CCRL between Stockfish 16 and Stormphrax in an amazing Sämisch variation of the Nimzo-Indian defense. And when the Stockfish engine is playing the Nimzo-Indian defense, or when it's playing against the Nimzo-Indian defense, it's always different, it's always sharp, it's always wild, it's always tactical. Usually the Nimzo-Indian defense is supposed to be sort of a strategic battle in the middle game stage, but when the fish is playing, it's always different. And in one particular moment, Stockfish will play such a great move that I think no one would guess here. So in my opinion, really one of the craziest Nimzo-Indian defenses that I've seen in my life. So put your seatbelts on and again enjoy in a wild attacking gameplay by Stockfish 16. So let's see now what happened with the white pieces. The fish opened with the move d4. Stormphrax response was knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to c3, and after move bishop to b4, we have the beautiful Nimzo-Indian defense on the board. The Stockfish goes into the normal variation with e3, kingside castling, and now with bishop to d3. Here Stockfish is playing this idea to play knight to e2, then kick away the bishop with a3. If bishop to c3 then happens, then we have always the opportunity to recapture with the knight without messing up our pawn structure here on the c-file. We have c5 by Stormphrax, a3 by fish, bishop takes c3, and after b takes c3, we can talk about two things. I think you're already in the position. Stockfish has a disadvantage when it comes to pawn structures. It has now this weakened pawn structure, double pawn structure on the c-file, but has also the powerful bishop here. And the main strategic goal is now to push the pawn here on e4, then also to go with f4, if possible to play even g4, g5. So with the support of the bishop here, Stockfish is hoping to get really a beautiful flank attack on this side of the board. We have knight to c6, which becomes now the so-called Sämisch variation. Knight to c6 is here actually preparation to play then afterwards the move b6, knight to a5, and then bishop to a6, hitting the pawn on c4. That's now the main, I would say, tactical goal here for black, to somehow grab the pawn on c4. But don't be so confident about taking just one pawn, because even if you go for this pawn on c4 with this method, you need 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 moves in order to do a simple threat here. Meanwhile, I guarantee you white will have his fun on this side of the board by pushing his pawn. So sometimes it's not good just to go for this pawn. Sometimes if you don't play defensively good on your king side, you could get destroyed, although you having maybe a +1 pawn situation. So be careful. So as I said, tricky position already. We have knight to e2 by Stockfish 16. Now comes this idea, b6, bishop to a6, knight to a5, and Stockfish simply improves the pawn structure, plays now e4, is now of course liberating the long diagonal for the dark square bishop. And basically there are many things that you can do now. One of the methods that you can play is to play d6, e5 to create a certain, I don't know, blocking system on dark squares, because there is a certain rule in chess that says when you give up a bishop for a knight in an early stage of the game, then you have to secure the squares that the bishop used to cover. So in this particular case, black has to now secure the dark squares by playing d6 and e5. It has to put a really nice blocking system on these squares. On the other side, also what can be done here is, in my opinion, even the best method by black, to play the move knight to e8, and then after something like kingside casting, bishop to a6, e f4, now you play f5. That's now a nice blocked out position here that black is hoping for, because black doesn't have any more the bishop here, and the game then goes into something like this: e takes f5, e takes f5, then d takes c5, b takes c5, bishop to e3, then after something like d6, knight to g3, g6 should be pretty solid here for black. Although black has here some dark square problems, and you gave up, as I said, the dark square bishop. It's not such a huge problem, because white cannot include the dark square bishop into the attack. It's very hard also for white to find some good squares for the dark square bishop. So this method has been played many times. For instance, in this one particular game, Hikaru Nakamura destroyed Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces in this particular line. So I think this is a solid position that you can get out of the in the defense. But here, Stormphrax played d6. As I said, a different concept with the idea to block the position in the center by pushing the pawn on e5. We have kingside castling, and now comes a beautiful theoretical novelty, knight to h5 here by Stormphrax. What's the idea about this move? For instance, if you try now this whole idea with knight to e8 and you have already played the move d6, you see you lost the tempo here with the move d6. Suddenly this whole f5 method, in my opinion, is not working anymore. It's not so powerful anymore, because now we can play knight to g3, putting more pressure against this pawn on f5. Now if you play something like c takes d4, c takes d4, if you grab the pawn here, actually you could get destroyed after a couple more moves if you're not reacting correctly. Then queen to d5 simply wins the rook here. You didn't connect your rook to the queen here, so it could be game over already. Even if you don't pick up the pawn with your knight, you could maybe try to play e takes f5, then the bishop is coming in a powerful way into the game. Although white lost the pawn here, doesn't matter, the bishop here is so dominant. Look at this, now we get the queen into the game. Now we play black has to play g6. Now we play queen to f3, and now it's a different story. Now the pawn that standing in our way is not there anymore. Now the dark bishop is breathing again, and I guarantee you black will not have his fun in this game. Black could be destroyed in a couple more moves. So as I said, when you are playing this concept with the move d6 with the black pieces, then there's simply no time anymore to play this knight to e8 f5 method. So that's why here Stormphrax tried a different idea, tried a certain theoretical novelty. Stockfish says it's perfectly fine to play the line. It prevents, of course, the move knight to g3 that we have seen previously that could work, because what white is hoping for is to play knight to g3, f4, f5, and put more pressure here on this side of the board. So Stockfish continues with h3, still with the idea to play g4, f4, f5, whatever the position is allowing you, but the main idea for white is to attack the king side. We have queen to e7, and Stockfish plays now, as I said also in the beginning of the video, a move that I'm not sure how many of us would even consider to play. I'm not sure how many of us would even, I don't know, be so creative to play this move. Maybe you can pause the video, and I will not say this is the best continuation. Who knows what's the best continuation here, but it's really, I think, the most interesting continuation. So pause the video just for fun. Think about this position. What would you do now in this particular position? Okay, Stockfish here played an unbelievable rook to a2. Stockfish creates a rook lift immediately. You know that Stockfish creates rook lifts. We have covered really many games here on my YouTube chat channel where Stockfish destroyed its opponents by lifting the rook and then including the rook into the attack. Now, after rook to a2, I was curious, where is this rook going? How is Stockfish going to include this rook into the attack? Because you have already still your two pawns on the second rank. So, but this whole rook to a idea is such a deep pervert, really, Stockfish idea. One of the main ideas I've here drawn this arrow. Look at this. One of these ideas is to put more pressure against this pawn on h7. You will see how Stockfish creates this threat with the rook on a2 against this pawn on h7, against the square h7, and also in some other lines this rook is protecting the knight on e2. Of course, we cannot see it immediately why this is like this, but look how Stockfish is preparing in a wild way its own attacks. Really wild stuff. Bishop to a6. So now we're getting back into the main strategy of black. So black is hoping to get the c4 pawn. Stockfish continues now with the move f4. And again, I'm pointing out, if you haven't played in the beginning the concept with the move f5, don't do it anymore, because it's a different story now. Because now after e takes f5, e takes f5, now g4 is coming. Look at this. F takes g4, h takes g4. You have to step back. We include the knight into the game. You could maybe take now the pawn, but who cares about the pawn? Look at this. Now this Greek gift is working, and now you can guess what's coming into the game. Rook to h2. The rook is shifting all over the board, and you're getting destroyed in a couple more moves. The queen is coming into the game. Game over here. Really wild stuff. How this move rook to a2 is actually preparation for the Greek gift tactic. Really wild stuff. So even if you play here knight to a5, if you continue with your plan without playing this f5 move, then g4, knight to f6, knight to g3. Again, you can maybe grab a pawn, who cares? But now look at this, g5, knight to d7, and now f5, and suddenly the rook, I think, would be included on the g file into the attack. Then we play rook to g2, maybe in some lines even f6, opening up the g file. This rook is very well placed on the f file because it supports the f file attack. So you see, this I think the main two threats by Stockfish with this move rook to a2, not allow black to play the move f5, and also black not to allow here to play the move knight to a5 that black basically prepared through the whole game. Really spectacular move, this rook to a2. So as I said, bishop to a6, Stockfish continued with f4, and now here Stormphrax continued with king to h6. Now, of course, f5. That's the move that Stockfish wanted to play anyway. We have knight to a5, putting more pressure finally against his pawn on c4. And now comes another brilliant move. Maybe, again, just for fun, pause the video and try to see now the best continuation here for white. What would you do now in this particular position? Okay, the best idea here is another beautiful pawn sacrifice with the move f6. Queen to f6 is obviously not working. If you play here knight takes f6, then bishop to g5 comes in a beautiful way into the game, and now there is this pin, unpleasant to handle. The rook is already putting more pressure against the knight. Bishop to c4 you can play, but now white continues simply with e5. Even if you take the rook here, look at this, you can even sack the rook. Now we simply play e takes f6. You have to step back, of course. You cannot take here g takes f6, then bishop to f6 comes. If you step back, then we simply pick up this pawn. You have to react. If you play, of course, king here, then the queen is coming, the bishop is coming into the game. You could maybe try to hold this position by playing king to g8, but now bishop to f6 locks the position. You're trying to create some breathing spaces, but there's simply no good defense anymore against bishop takes h7. Really wild stuff. So you see, f6, brilliant idea, which makes here this pawn structure in front of the king really unbalanced. The pawn structure is now messed up in front of black's king. Really spectacular pawn sacrifice just in order to include now the queen into the game, and now Stockfish is hoping to get the queen on h6. What should black do? If you continue now with knight to c4, it's not working because of this one. Knight to g7 you can play, but then a rook to f4, rook to h4 is going to happen. Again, a messed up position here for black. After queen to d2, that's why rook to g8. Stormphrax includes now a new defender into the game. Stockfish continues with queen to h6 anyway, attacks the knight. We have knight to g3, and now queen to h4. Putting more pressure against the knight. The knight takes out now, but now comes the other brilliant idea about the Stockfish move. Now Stockfish has rook takes e2 as a beautiful defensive resource. Can include now again the rook into the game on the f file, and that's the whole beauty about this move rook to a2. In the beginning, who knows why Stockfish would play such a move, but Stockfish always wanted just to include this beautiful rook into the game through the second rank. Really wild stuff. So here e5 was played by Stormphrax. If you play here bishop to c4, then bishop to c4, knight to c4, we pick up here the pawn on f6. You have to now compete. Bishop comes, then bishop on g5 comes, and you have to, I think, give up here the rook for the exchange. This should be, I think, game over here for black. So after rook takes e2, that's why e5. Stormphrax is trying somehow to keep the position blocked. Stockfish continues with, of course, rook to f5, rook to f6 is also possible. We have now rook to g7, bishop to h6, hitting now the rook, rook to g6, and now rook to h5, putting more pressure against the weak pawn on h7. We have king to g8, Stockfish retreats, Stormphrax has to cover again, and now the rook is coming in a beautiful way into the game. Now finally, mission accomplished. I think this beautiful rook was on a1 and becomes now simply the best piece on the board. We have bishop to c4, bishop takes, knight takes c4, and now a beautiful also calm move by the fish, d5, locking the center, not allowing any moves before this knight. The knight is simply out of this game. It doesn't have any good squares. In the game, king to h8 was played, and now after rook to f6 in this particular position, Stormphrax Stormphrax resigns. So even if you, I don't know, play rook to g6, again, we'll just cover, first of all, check here. We'll have always bishop to g5 as a good idea. So you cannot leave the protection here. It's simply too much pressure. If you even go here, then bishop to g5, you cannot take again. Here, bishop to g5. If you take, then we take. Maybe you can take out this one, but then rook to g8. And as I said, there's simply too much pressure with this heavy artillery against Black's king. So, amazing game by the fish against the Nimzo in the defense. I think this is a game worth to study, especially with this theoretical novelties and also with this beautiful rook lift in the beginning. Let's go back. Rook to a2. As I said, I'm not sure how many of us would play, even consider this move, but Stockfish is a different beast. Stockfish creates its own plans through the game. Really spectacular game against the solid defense against the Nimzo. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see more beautiful, spectacular top engine games, check out our Come to Chess Games Play by Computer series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.